It is Wellness Wednesday, and I'm excited to have my guest, Narisha Liggins, author, trainer, speaker, diva extraordinaire, on with me for this show today. So welcome, everyone. I'm your girl, Jeanette Smith, certified life strategist and mindset coach. Wellness Wednesdays when we get to woosah together and talk about the things that help bring us more quality of life. We talk about making better decisions for better living, but that also means outside of your career, how are you making better decisions about your overall well-being, mind, body, spirit, soul, and all that. Today, we're going to talk about it. I want to first thank you all for just making my 5th anniversary for my book, From Dream to Reality, Navigating the Path to Your Life Purpose, a bomb diggity dog bomb. I had so much fun. We spent 3.5 hours together with amazing guests. I'm going to do a little recap on that later on Friday when we get together for live coaching. So I won't go into it too much today, so I save time for my guests. But I just want you all to know that it was amazeballs. And I'm still getting great feedback. I'll be chopping some stuff up just to share out here and there. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you all. Good morning, Annette. How are you, doll? I know it's hard for you to get on the streams now that work schedules have gone back to normal. Leola, good morning to you. Hello to all of the Empowerment Tribe. And I want to encourage you on IG. Hey, Silky. He'll say Silky plus size diva. What's up? Kenny Henderson, Michael Chaney, good to see all of you. I want to encourage you to go ahead and share this because there are going to be some great nuggets as always. So share this out to your tribes so that they can get in on the goodness as well. Going to talk about first the recipe that I did last week and just wondered if any of you actually tried it. I did a little Jeanette's Jeanette's pretend pancakes. Right? And so we had butternut squash that I flanked. We put it in the air fryer, little something on it, pulled it out, put a little blue agave on it. And because of the texture, the way the air fryer does the texture, it was like a light crepe, like a light pancake. And I just wondered if anybody tried that. You have to try that, Narisha. I know y'all don't see her yet. She is on IG, but I'm going to bring her on so you all can see her over here. Hey, teammate, no sleep.
For real. I'm trying to get off that team though.
Yes, we're all trying to get off that team. But you're inspiring because you had done a lot of, I think it's your phone is getting the feedback.
Okay, hold on. Let me see what it is here.
Little mama is in the window. What is happening? I think it's your phone. If you turn your phone down, we're in an endless loop. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's good. So, Narisha, you have always, kind of inspired me. And I was trying to get Narisha to do some cooking today. Now I know that really wouldn't have worked because we were not the models for healthy living in the area of sleep last night because we were all up. And I had an idea and I'm emailing her, trying not to disturb her, only to see a text alert come through. She's on Facebook. I was like, oh, you up? What's up?
I wasn't trying to be.
2 other sisters were up. Like we were just team no sleep. And Lanisha's on the thread over here now. Lanisha, you were aiding and abetting and adding to the delinquency of us minors. Oh, little mama over here. Yeah, little mama. My folks are talking about little mama zipping the window. Yeah, she's a dog cat. She doesn't know. So she's like, yeah, I sit in the window. That's what I do. I look out the window, then I chill. Yep. So, she's the unofficial mascot, Randy. That's just what she does. We let her do her due. Good morning, Letitia. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Lanisha says she does what she can. Well, don't do that no more. We're not trying to do that no more. So thank you, but no. Thank you, but no.
Team no sleep is no fun.
Team no sleep is no fun. So let me just show you. I was trying to show Narisha in her own right. She went I don't know if it was a phase or you just made some life changes and you said, I'm going to be just, I mean, look at some of this amazing stuff she's doing. That was, look at this. I'm going to just tell you right now, this is like pastrami style smoked salmon.
Yes.
I mean, with artichoke jalapeno dip. This is
Listen,
fancy healthy eating.
this
Go.
is why I date Trader Joe's.
Yes.
That whole plate is Trader Joe's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The whole thing. They will
Gotcha.
have you looking like you are a gourmet out here.
I'm telling you, I love me some Trader Joe's too. And there's all of her support for Tools to Trade, which we are going to be talking about today. I just needed y'all to know this woman and then she grows her own stuff. Look at this squash. It's her first yellow squash.
It's my baby.
I'm so laughing because what was keeping her up was the storm. So she was worried about all these babies back here. Like, what's going to happen with them? Mama got to go see what is happening to these babies. I'm not mad at you. You better do it. I'm impressed. This right, what is this? Brunch courtesy of her family.
Oh, that's a hash that I made with mostly ingredients from my garden.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Zucchini, yellow squash, and collard greens. Look at that. Look at that. So we're going to talk about healthy eating and more. But right now, I just want to share. Good morning, Steve. How are you? Good morning, saying good morning, sisters. Hello. Looks good. I know. I'm telling you, she's the bomb. So don't laugh when I share my little recipe with y'all today. I have to thank my sister friend, Reverend Riri, because for as long as I've been making cabbage, I never, sometimes you have to shake it up, especially when I went on this whole healthy eating, healthy living journey of doing plant-based 6 days a week. Cause I'm still on that one day. Sunday is my feast day, but that 6 days a week, you have to learn how to sustain that. You have to learn how to make things palatable and interesting. And every time I eat cabbage, I don't want it to taste the same. Right. So I have to thank my sister friend, Reverend Riri, who told me, hey, girl, put a little ginger in your cabbage. And I said, put a little ginger in it. And let me tell you, it was the bomb. It was the bomb. IG, I'm sorry you're not going to be able to see this little 1 minute video, but once you hop off of the interview, just check me out on YouTube or Facebook, and you'll be able to see it. All right. Easy breezy, bon appetit, easy breezy, lemon squeezy. And that was the bomb. So I'm just encouraging you all to try these things because I am not on here cooking for you because I'm like master chef. I'm on here cooking for you because I don't normally cook. I have to be honest. I don't normally cook because growing up, Marisha, I started in television while I was still in college, like 17 years old. So that took all my time. And I was still living at home while I was in college. So I still had mama, right?
Yeah.
And so from 87 to when I left in 95, I had work. And then I had progressed in the field. So I was working and anchoring the night show 5 and 10. So I'm really not at home cooking, So there was just a whole period of time that I missed when normally you would be doing those kinds of things. Good morning, Helen. And so, and then when I moved on, I was still anchoring, noons and fives or fives and 10. So I just kind of missed that window. So I was cooking enough to get by, but not
Mhm.
really cooking. And so, we talk about what can you do in a pandemic to help find opportunity. For me, what I found was the opportunity working at home to cook healthy, to find
Yeah.
healthy things to cook. And so that's been a blessing to me. So I'm not showing you all because like, hey, look at me, I'm like messed this shit. No, I'm just like, if I can do it, y'all can do it. Promise,
Yes, you can.
promise you
You
that.
know, I love cooking cabbage. And
Yeah.
it's something that I acquired the older I get. I didn't normally like cabbage, but I love cabbage now. And one of the ways that I prepare it when I'm like trying to rush is I will buy the coleslaw bags of already shredded cabbage and
Yes, yes.
shredded carrots. And it is so quick. I love that you're using whole ingredients because that's one of the reasons why I started my garden is so that I can actually grow whole food ingredients and I know what's in there and all. But while those things are still babies, I gotta
Yes,
do something
I
else.
know, I know, I know, I know. And you know what I love? I do that too. I will do that with kale and with collards. I just feel like I've seen my mama over that sink with them collards, cleaning them, getting all the grit out for enough for the generations beyond me. So I get it. They have to be fresh. They have to look good. I'm not
Yeah.
janky looking collards, but if they looking fresh or they looking good and they've already cleaned them and cut them, I can bring them back and wash them. And I do the pre-cut too. So just things we want to encourage you all to envelop more, healthy, fresh plant-based eating into your life. I'm not saying you got to go all plant-based. That was a decision I made for me, but
Mhm.
there are ways. And I find now that it fills me up, right? So then I don't look to satiate my appetite with other bad stuff.
Yeah.
I'm full now. The quality of what I'm eating is so much better, right? And that's
Mhm.
what's great. So let's talk about your book, Pooh.
Okay.
Let's talk about tools to traits. I love, love, love it. Tools for becoming a better you. I want to talk about how this book dropped in your spirit. When did this start? And the funny thing about it was you and I had that similar experience where we're publishing books in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, right? Talking about healthy living, healthy mindset, and all of that. And it seems so counterintuitive, like ain't nobody trying to hear about this, but seems exactly what people needed to hear about, right? So tell
Yeah.
me about its inception.
So I have I'm the type of person that is I'm always working on something. I'm always doing personal development. And I recognize that there were some areas that I needed to track my growth and track my progress. And I'm always, I say this, it sounds so morbid. Hopefully it doesn't sound morbid, but I'm always thinking about what am I going to leave behind after I'm
Yeah.
gone? And what type of person do I want to have made the mark on this planet? And what do I want to be remembered for? What virtues do I want to be left behind? And by heart and by nature, I feel like I'm a teacher. I
Yeah.
love to teach. If I learn something, I'm going to teach it. I'll figure out a way to tell everybody about it. And as I began to document my journey of personal growth through some traits that I knew that I wanted to leave behind, I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to write about because I see how I could apply the need for confidence right here. And I'm going to
Mhm.
write about my journey and write about my story, how my automatic brain, how my deliberate brain is constantly moving and engaging back and forth between different situations and scenarios. All right, let me document this. And so for me, it was a personal journey,
Yeah.
just documenting my own growth and my own experience. And I started sharing some of these stories and writings with some friends. And I was like, maybe I should just put this together in a book. If it's helping me, maybe it'll help somebody else. And so it's kind of how it came about.
I love it. I love it. So I wanted to delve through, there's 10 chapters. And so just to give you all kind of a macro level, because this is not something that you can just go, brrr. I mean, you really want to take your time and go through it, highlight, meditate, marinate in it. But I would love to give people just kind of a macro level look at the 10 chapters. So on your book club, because we did an on-air book club, and I was with you for creating healthy thoughts and building your faith. Why did those two come back to back in order like that for you? And what is it you wanted people to get out of that, those two chapters?
So I believe that our faith is a very, very core part of who we are. But I think we don't think about the thoughts that we struggle with and contend with that may decide how much faith we have in a particular area. So our mind is always going to be the biggest war field that we are dealing with. Everything is in the mind. You starting a whole new way of eating and a life journey, that's a mind thing. That it's not even your stomach that has no appetite. Your stomach does not care what you put in it. It's what your mind tells you that it wants. That's the same thing about our faith. Our faith is hungry for something, and what that could either be positive, it could be negative, and our mind begins to fuel the direction of our faith. And so that's why I put those two chapters back to back. The first chapter is talking about creating healthy thoughts so that we are feeding our faith positive and healthy thoughts so that it can continue to grow in the direction that it needs to go.
I love that. Like me, you're a person who's very transparent about, wisely transparent about things that you go through in order for others to understand the importance and significance of what you share, right? And so the creating healthy thoughts, building your faith, there were stories in here that you shared, and I told you when I was on your book club that one of them, I was like, I had such a visceral reaction. I was like, ah. But we talked about how we learned behavior, right? Learned behavior. And you were talking about how, in your youth, you loved all animals, you loved all kinds of dogs, and how, you never differentiated between different breeds. You just liked dogs. And how this experience that you had with your dog reshaped that. I wanted you, without digging into the pain of it, to share, because I think that it is a model for how we train ourselves to think in other areas of life, not even just the painful ones. It's the experiences that imprint on us to the core, that take our thoughts, our heart memory, and and have that physical reaction to it. It almost like it seals it into your system from a theological standpoint. And so I wanted you to share that so we could look at that and go, wow, is that something I'm doing in some area of my life?
Yeah. So I share in the first chapter of the book that I had what I called my daughter with dog tendencies.
We are fur mamas, and ain't nobody can, got nothing to say about it. But
yes, her name was Cookie. I don't know why it seemed like every dog that I've had was named after food. I had Ginger, I had all, but anyway. But her name was Cookie, and Cookie, like I said, affectionately known as my daughter with dog tendencies. She was the family dog. Everybody loved Cookie, no matter who got to meet her. People that were afraid of dogs got to love and know Cookie, and they were suddenly not afraid of dogs, or at least not afraid of Cookie. But Cookie, unfortunately, was attacked by a pit bull, and the owners of the pit bull actually live right across the street from where I live. So I look out my window right now and I'm looking at their house, and they're still there. Yeah, they're still there. So getting the call from my son that Cookie was no longer with us. Apparently she was in the neighbor's yard across the street. When I got home, it was just a very, very traumatic, wildly erratic time. When I got home, there were tons of people standing in the middle of the street because the pit bull was on attack. And there was a school bus that had just let out some children, and it was really kind of being aggressive with the school bus. So the neighbors called the police. But in the meantime, before the police got there, One of the neighbors was able to get the dog, put it in their garage until law enforcement arrived to come deal with the situation. Again, so I'm coming home, and I'm coming home, first of all, in disbelief, like, yeah, that's somebody else's dog. That's not my dog, you know? And then really coming to the realization, no, that is your baby. That is her. And, all of the emotions that, you know, it's kind of like having an out of body experience. And I feel like trauma started, it didn't start when I got there. It started in the phone call that I got that said, hey, you need to come home and check this out. But
Yeah.
it was like an out of body experience. I was there, but I was not there in a way, you know. And when I realized that this was the situation that was really happening, I didn't know which neighbor owned that dog, because I'd seen that dog many times just roaming around the neighborhood without a leash. And I remember, because the dog was very, very pregnant. And I watched the journey of this dog during its pregnancy, and because it would just be on any given street in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I remember saying this to myself, that dog is going to hurt somebody if he doesn't get to where he's supposed to be. I had no idea it was going to be in my household. My household was going to be affected by that. So, didn't know exactly who owned the dog, but I knew it was someone in our neighborhood. And it was the neighbors who actually identified the owner of the dog. And so when the police went and talked to her, she denied the ownership. She's like, oh, it's not mine. You know, that's just a dog we feed. But the children said, oh, that's our dog. You know, so it was a lot. And on top of just losing my fur baby, there was a lot of anger, a lot of other types of emotions.
Yeah.
When you're in a traumatic situation, one of the first things you want to do is try to find a place of resolve. Okay, I've got to deal with this. I've got to deal with this, but let's deal with what's going on right here too. It was just a number of different things. But fast forward to going through the grieving process, and grief is one of these things you don't always get to control how long it takes to get through something. And I can say right now, there are days that I'll think about her, walk by her room, and I'm fine. And there are days that I'm like, oh my God, I miss her. So it's still a process. It is still a process. But one of the things that I'm still dealing with is a fear of pit bulls that I did not have before. And like you said, in the book, I talked about how my family, we're a dog family. My brother we had a Doberman when I was a little kid. We've had all types of breeds of dogs. My middle brother, he's got like 4 different breeds of dogs right now. So we're a dog loving family. So the fact that I walked out of this event having a fear of a type of dog was so new to me. And I did not understand first of all, I didn't understand that this was going to be a new fear that I was going to contend with, but it is. And I have a different response to that particular breed. And not every dog is going to be that way. I want to make sure that I'm very clear. If you're a pit bull owner, that doesn't mean your dog is crazy. It doesn't mean that your dog is going to be on the attack. But because of my experience, and this is kind of how our brain works, our brain is constantly searching in any environment. When we're in a new environment, when we don't have control of a room or an environment, our brain is automatically going to look for a file that helps us to know how to navigate this new world and this new environment that we're in. And if the most prevalent file that pops up is trauma, that's typically what we're going to respond with. And again, we don't know whether the dog in the room is actually going to be dangerous, but because our brain is constantly looking for references on how to navigate any given experience, the most prevalent reference, the most impactful reference is the one that our brain typically goes with. So that's what we call the automatic brain. It's that instinctive thought that sometimes we don't even realize that we're making. And that can happen in any given situation, not just trauma. It could be something that we've learned. It could be something that I've taught and passed down to my child. And it can be based off of a number of different things. I go into in the book talking about the deliberate brain, which actually helps to interrupt the automatic brain process. And what it is it gives us opportunity to pause and really think about what we're thinking about the feelings that we are having, asking ourselves, is this thing that I'm contending with, is it really true? Is there another perspective of this story? Is there another perspective of this environment that maybe I'm not seeing because I'm operating out of response, I'm operating out of fear, whatever that prevalent file that's popping up? And the deliberate brain slows that process down for us and says, okay, let's just think about this for a second before we make a decision. So, yeah.
Yeah, no. And for those of you who follow me, you know, on Mindset Mondays, we talk about this in a way, and we dig into it to challenge it, because what we experience, and you hear me say this, but now you layer that over what Narisha shared in her personal experience. What you experience shapes your thoughts, which has shaped her thoughts about that particular breed of dog. It shapes your emotions. And out of your emotions, then you start to make decisions and take actions. And so you will, as she's alluded to, look up and be operating in a certain way that you in your mind didn't even really intentionally plan, but it just happened by virtue of your automatic mechanism. Your experience shaped a thought, your thought created this emotion, your emotion flagged up some decisions, and they sent out habits and actions that became habits. And so one of the things, before we move on, I just want to encourage you is, if you feel an intense emotion, stop, pause, like Narisha said, and write it down and try to track it back to the thought. When you're feeling an intense emotion, stop, pause. Yes, pausing is powerful. Pause, and then try to track it back to the thought. Because when you can track it back, it's kind of like the black box work, right? Like aircraft, something goes wrong, they get the black box to say, okay, let's see what was happening right before things went awry, right? That's what you want to do. You want to try to go back and figure out where that automatic thought came from, and then try to reframe it. And I love the if this then that exercise always. You can look at that. We were talking about dating and different things as single women right before we came on, but let's take an extreme thought. If somebody says, you know, if I don't find a partner soon, that means I'm never going to get married, or I'm never going to find the right person for me. If you can reframe the thought to if this then that, then you can usually find where you try to trip yourself up, because some people their if this then that would be, if I don't find a partner soon and I don't get married, then that means I'm defective in some way. Something's wrong with me. So you peel that back, and the core belief is I'm defective. Instead of saying, I could have been married, I could have been this, I've made choices to put myself in the best possible position for the right relationship. Because any of you that are out there, we are of the club that I'd rather be married for 10 great years than to be in an entanglement. Show your shirt. Show your shirt.
Hold on, let me see here.
Unless God sent you, it's an entanglement. Unless God sent you, it's an entanglement. Yes. So we'd rather be married like 10 to 15 good, solid, happy, loving years than to be in a like 30-year, let's just hope I don't kill you and you don't kill me kind of marriage, right? And so that, just to bring a little levity to it, but the core of that is challenging that automatic belief, checking yourself in the area of if this then that. Definitely powerful information, as they're saying in the chat room. So you go into the automatic and deliberate brain and how our thinking works, and then we slide into building our faith, which I think, we hear a lot about these days because, you can often feel like in the middle of a pandemic, depending on what you've experienced, that maybe your faith isn't where it needs to be. And so we know that we're humans. We're going to ebb and flow. It doesn't mean you're faithless. It just means, there's some building to do. And then you move into conscious communication and intentional encounters, which I think is really, really important for where we are right now. How do we do intentional encounters in the environment, the season, the atmosphere that we're in now?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, because the physical distancing, I don't like the word social distancing just because
Mhm.
we can still be social without
Right.
in physical space. But the physical distancing that we have in place in most states does it makes it a little difficult to leave intentional encounters. And first of all, let me just talk about what intentional encounters really is. It is making sure that you're leaving the impression and the intention of your heart, your love, your mind, whatever it is that you're feeling. You want to make sure that you're intentional about leaving that person with the best and fullest expression of you
Love it.
in the best way possible, the healthiest expression of you. And it's making sure that we're not taking engagements with people lightly. It could be something as simple as saying, "How are you today?" and then like pausing,
To
really
really hear.
listening to the response
Right.
and making sure that they are aware that you really, really care about how they're doing. It's not just a part of your greeting. And so we can do that in a physically distanced environment that we're living in. There are people that just in the past 4 days, I've had 3 people that I know and love that had hospital treatments and for different reasons. And making sure that even throughout all of the busyness that I've got going on, that I'm still checking in. Are you
Yeah.
okay? Do you need anything? That's an intentional encounter. That's making sure that the person knows that your heart is there, even though you're not maybe physically there.
I love that. I think what the pandemic has shown us was how much we were leaning on the physical
Yeah.
to communicate certain things, right? And so when you take the opportunity to stay present with somebody, to really listen to somebody, you connect in deeper ways. And it is more work. It is more work to say to show care and concern, to hug, to touch somebody's hand, to be there. Even your physical energy is communicating to them, but you can still have that presence even on a Zoom, as many of us are having to do with our families. I know one of the things that I started really paying attention to was, and I didn't realize this until the pandemic actually, was when I was talking to my mom, I'd usually be multitasking because we talk several times a day. So I'd be talking to her, but I'd be doing something else while we're doing that. And then I'd look up and I didn't realize what I was missing.
Yeah.
I didn't like she'll say, "Oh yeah, remember I told you Tuesday I was da 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 da." And just taking for granted the amount of um internalization that goes on when you really sit present with one thing, one person, one focus for that period of time. And so now, depending on what's happening, like I said, we speak many times a day, but I always make sure that one time of those times that we're doing, that I'm just focused right there with her. That just that. Because heaven help, you talk about this is all building toward legacy, what we're leaving behind, right? What we're building. And it's not just legacy like what I leave in the bank or that kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
about what legacy do I create through relationships? What am I creating holistically? I never want to get to the end of my life or hers and think, wow, I miss these opportunities of really having moments and creating memories, because we can still be doing that in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. So I
I think
love
about that
that part.
all the time with my parents, and I'm working on doing a better job of
Yeah.
that too. My parents live maybe 12 minutes away. And there are definitely times where I'm taking an intentional effort now to make sure that I have a real Sabbath in my week.
Yes,
And
yes.
part of my real Sabbath is exactly for that purpose, to spend time honoring God and to make sure that I'm taking care of family in an enjoying way, just enjoying friends and family apart from and away from work. And that's one of the ways that I just recently started doing that, just taking an intentional Sabbath, shutting everything down, not responding to text messages or emails that are filled with work. So that's one of the things that I'm doing to make sure I'm intentional.
I love it. And you could beat yourself up about it. That's not what we're going for here. What we're going for is coming into a place of realization about self. The self excavation that we do on ourselves to, do better in business, to do better in our jobs, or excuse me, things that are related to performance in our vocation is one thing. But if you had to get a scorecard on your relationships and the quality of your relationships, what would that look like? Like, what would your friends say? What would your family say? What would your
Yeah.
kids say? What would your spouse say? And so that's why we've seen, a lot of talk about from therapists about a lot of domestic stuff going on now, because people have been stayed at home in situations in ways where I'm not with you all the time like this, right? And now we got to deal with some stuff. And so I hope that those of you watching this and those that share this on replay, or wherever you're watching, that you will take a moment not only to have intentional encounters with others, but with yourself.
Yeah.
That you'll stay present with yourself, that you'll love yourself. And I don't just mean just like, this is me. I'm an animated chick, but loving yourself, meaning giving yourself permission to learn more and to be okay with what you find, and then move it toward a place where it's more healthy for you. Don't ever be afraid to look within because you're not sure what you'll find. Just trust that if it comes up for you, it is an opportunity to grow and express and learn and leave that legacy in different ways. I love what Savala says. He says, I want to leave a heart legacy on Facebook. Yes, yes. IG, if you want to chime in, we see you, we see you, we see you. So then you move into understanding your influence and cultivating confidence. Um, Powerful topics. I had a couple of thoughts about that, but I just want you to share um, the golden nuggets that you wanted to deposit out of those.
I feel like it's very important that people recognize that no matter who you are, no matter what part of life, your life journey you're in, you have influence.
Yes, yes.
Somebody is watching everything you do and is taking notes and taking cues, and they're making their own life adjustments based off of how you choose to live your life and the decisions that you're making. You are always influencing someone, whether you recognize it or not. I wrote this chapter to help us recognize that, but also once you recognize that, knowing how to use your influence in ways that advance humanity and that advance the wellness and the good health of humanity. And I wrote little topics about 3 steps that you can do to make sure that you're managing your influence well. The first one is to grant your influence, knowing when you should use your influence for the benefit of others. To guard your influence, which means not everybody should have your influence because they may not have the type of credibility that you want them to have to engage in some of the relationships that you might be using your influence for. The third one is govern your influence. Knowing the difference on when to actually grant it, when to guard it, govern how much influence that you are actually
Yeah.
utilizing and giving, and then being grateful. I'm adding this fourth one that's not in the book, but being grateful for the
Yeah,
influence that
absolutely.
other people have used for you to help benefit you?
That is something that has really helped keep me on a better track when you feel like you're not where you want to be in certain areas. So before the health journey, you know, me feeling like, I don't want to struggle with what I'm got to get up and put on. I don't want to struggle with this. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to feel, and dealing with that, but realizing through the gratitude and through the governing of certain things that has nothing to do with my ability to impart, to teach, to right. Because I think that a lot of times we don't move in certain areas because we think that all the other areas of our pie have to be in place. I'm saying this for a reason because it moves into building confidence, which is your next chapter. It does not matter. Nobody has every area of their life all together all the time. You just don't. And so when you receive that and when you can accept that as being a part of just the human race, then you can enjoy and feel good about, okay, this is my strong suits. These are my strong areas. These are my lesser strengths. I work on these, but I'm still going to be effective over here. And I bring this up because I love this list that you have in terms of building confidence, because I talk about it with clients all the time. Like, okay, you don't feel good about this, but why are you shrinking in this area? Why are you making yourself little in this area? Or why are you second guessing yourself in this area? And these are out of her list and terms I know you all have heard us talk about before. Why is the uncertainty get to be king in this situation?
That's good.
Right? Why does that take the king seat? Dreaming smaller, again, that's part of shrinking, right? Like, why are you playing yourself small? Sometimes we allow other people to put that on us. Sometimes we take that on ourselves. Comparison, I hate. My 2 C's: competing and comparing. I can't. And the fact that society kind of creates a mechanism that enforces comparing and competing, even how social media can play into that, is just really, it's diabolical. Feeling invisible or irrelevant. Many times we hit those places and spaces where we feel that for some reason, and then feeling voiceless or powerless. And I love that you say, I can admit I've experienced all of those at some point in some place in my life, because I think if we're honest, we all have.
Yeah, there's something that happened recently that I had to come back to my own book and get a little bit of confidence, because I was asked to do something that I've never done before, and it was a little intimidating, And I'll share what it is. I was invited to speak at a university for on the topic of diversity and inclusion. And, I've done corporate America, I've done church, I've done a lot of different environments. But as far as a university, this was the first, and it's a big deal. It's a first opportunity for me. And my first thought, my automatic brain, which was going to allow fear to make that decision for me, was like, maybe I'm not the best person for that. But I had to go back to a cue in my book that says, just say yes.
Yeah.
That's what I did. After I processed that immediate fear thought that said, nah, maybe not this time. Catch me next time. I said, no, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I said, yes. And I started praying and asking God for the confidence. Sometimes confidence doesn't come until we're in the middle of that thing that we said we want to do. So sometimes we have to say yes by faith and trust that God opened a door for us, because he wants to do something through, even when we don't feel confident that we can do it. He wants to do something through our willingness to do it.
Yes, and yes, and yes. And what's funny about that is, if I look back in my own life, and maybe this is true for you all too, it wasn't until faith always has a corresponding action. So if you say you have faith, even though it may be this much faith, right?
Mhm.
But if you show up, you step into it. It wasn't until I showed up and stepped into it that what I needed showed up. And what I learned was, why would you have the tools for a trade if you weren't going to do the task? So
Yeah.
you have to step into the task, and then this endowment of wisdom and other stuff. Now, that doesn't take the onus off of us for preparation, for prayer, for meditation, for, being ready on our end. But I always like to say that God has to have something natural to wrap his super around. So we got to do our part.
Yeah.
We got to do
You
our
know, the Bible is filled with people that obeyed that didn't have a map. Like Noah never saw a boat before.
part.
but he had a word and opportunity. Moses never saw a sea being parted, but
Right.
he had a word and an opportunity. And sometimes it's all we need, and the confidence comes in the process.
Yes and yes. I love that. Going to the chat, Lanisha says, I struggle with the just say yes at times.
She's done better, though. I can tell you that. She's done better.
I think it's a process. I thank
It
you for
is.
sharing, Lanisha, and for being honest with that. But listen, you're not, anybody could put their name up there in that little green box and say, I struggle with the yes sometimes. Because Narisha just said, I struggle with the yes sometimes.
Mhm.
Right? I struggle with the yes sometimes. I will tell you, you mentioned the thing about the university. I remember when my book came out, the very first event that I was asked to do was a university. And my confident side was like, this is a great opportunity. It's great to get the book out there. These are college students. This whole find your purpose thing, this is right up that alley. And then the other side kicked into, no, this would be your first audience on the book. What if they,
Mhm.
what if this and that? And a lot of the big speaking engagements I had always done before were me as a news personality, which in a weird way took some pressure off because I just had to kind of go be me. I didn't have to kind of go be this expert in a field of mindset and building your purpose and all that, right? And so that struggle, I felt you. I felt it when you were
Yeah.
saying that, like, because to stand there will always be, and here's the truth, there will always be somebody else that can do what we do, but they can't
Yeah.
do it the way you do it. And that's why you
Yeah.
don't have to compare and compete. And what I figured out was just go share what you know. Don't compare, because they had a list. They sent me a list of people that had gone and done this. It was a big symposium that this college had done every year. And some of the people, and the guy that went before me the year before was like a huge name in motivational, speaking circles. And I was like, oh my God, they're going to be comparing me to that. They're going to be doing that to this. And I had to figure out a way to sit that down.
Mhm.
They actually did metrics. And here's what you can learn, y'all. Be yourself. Because when
Yeah.
they sent me back, I said, I don't know if this will be helpful to you. Here's our metrics, because they make students do surveys at the end. And they were saying, you had more engagement in this area. You had more this and that. You had more this and that. And what I learned from that was that's where the whole competing, comparing thing really blossomed for me, was you will always suck trying to be somebody else.
That's it. And
But
it's
you'll always be great being you.
that's the thing too, because I think we forget in our comparing is that God made me this way for a reason. My experiences are mine. Nobody can share the experiences that I have. And while we may talk about the same topics, I'll be able to deliver something through my experience, through my DNA, through my
Yes.
perspective that might help someone in a different way than someone else. Not discounting anyone else, but maybe someone needs to hear my perspective of the same topic. Every part of who we are is valuable in its own way to these invitations. So yeah,
Yes. To the
be you,
yes.
and don't disrespect the God in you, because if a lot of times these doors that are opening that you might want to shrink down and say no to, maybe they're not even about us. maybe it's for God to use us in a way that we didn't even realize that we were going to be used, because someone needed to see God in your smile, in the way that you communicate. They needed to see God in your perspective of a story that you might share. It's oftentimes the enemy wants us to focus on us and why we're disqualified
Right.
for that environment, when a lot of times it's never even about us.
I love it. I want to share with you all one of my favorite parts of her book, Tools to Traits, what we're talking about. I'm going to put it, you can get it on Amazon. This is one of my favorite parts, and it's the confidence map. You're probably not going to be able to see it. That's why you just need to go and get the book. But here it is, the confidence map. Just talk to us about what you wanted people to be able to glean from this.
So I developed the confidence map again because I needed a tool. I needed a tool because a lot of times when your natural or your automatic brain is used to saying no, and used to shrinking, and used to, allowing yourself to be the smallest person in the environment, in the room, a lot of times because it's a habit, and is the trait that you're used to operating from, you don't see yourself doing it. You just see yourself as being you. So I developed the map that kind of gives some tools or some ideas at your thoughts, tips that kind of show you this is kind of where you are. You're conforming to fear if this is what this looks like in this environment. This is how we get out of fear and get into faith. This is the comfort zone over here. I'm looking at this backward. A comfort zone over here. The confidence zone is over here. It's just a practical way of being able to move from one place where fear may be, where we're comfortable,
Right.
and how we move into the confident place where it's a little less comfortable, but it's beneficial to our growth.
Love it. Other chapters in her book, y'all, include poise principles, becoming the misfit, which I'm going to come back to, unlocking your superpower, and the great and deliberate you. Talk about becoming the misfit.
So I think I was born a misfit. I can remember times as a kid when I just saw things that were wrong. Things that, injustices to my little friends on the playground or whatever. And I was always the one that would stick up for them. I feel like that's a character trait that is innately in me because it ties directly to a value that I have, which is making sure that people are taken care of. So when I see something happening and a threat to my core value, a part of me raises up, and I might be the misfit in the environment because that's what I value. I feel like, we as a people, a society of people, we elect people, we expect leaders in our communities to take on the aspect of change that we are responsible for. If we're constantly waiting for them, whoever the them is, to make changes for us, we'll be waiting. And so what that might look like is going against the grain.
Yeah.
Going against the grain, going out of your way to help someone. Be a voice for the underdog, the voiceless, those that don't feel like they have a voice, those that don't feel as though their life is important or that it matters. Be that voice. Use the influence that we talked about earlier in the book. Use your influence to create change, positive change. It's all about how we can advance humanity. How can we move humanity in the direction of being healthy, a healthy group of people where peace is the goal? And whether or not we can visualize what that might look like, that shouldn't stop us from doing our part and taking our space and using it for the advancement of other people. And that means being a good misfit. I like how the late John Lewis said, be good trouble.
Yeah.
Good trouble.
Yeah. Love it. Everything we're talking about out of the book, Tools to Traits, Tools to Becoming a Better You. You have a awesome opportunity to help yourself learn how to challenge yourself in these areas. I saw you, Savala, say, I'm guilty of being comfortable, of feeling comfortable with being comfortable. And what I want to encourage you to know is that I saw you even just this week, sir, do things to get yourself out of your comfort zone. Because when we did the little dance, who was up there sending me a video? Didn't want to do it, but he did it. And even those things, I mean, it's not like it, you would think, well, that, what does that really do? What you don't understand is you're training yourself to think differently about discomfort or areas of comfort. So this week, it was a little dance. She said, me too. This time it was a little dance. Next time it might be something else. If you get used to feeling the fear and doing it anyway, I promise you'll retrain yourself in that area, and you can apply that to anything in your life. There it is, from Tools to Trait, the big 5 stars. Make sure you bless yourself, y'all. It's a great read. It's a great read. I'm still getting through it, but it's a great read, and it will truly, truly bless you. Narisha,
Jeanette,
we got to do better, but thank you so much for coming on, even after our no sleepness.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I just love being a part of the Empowerment Tribe. If you're not a part
Yes,
of the Empowerment
yes,
Tribe, join us,
that's
because
it.
Jeanette is the queen, and I just love learning from her and listening to her. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And I love it too, because she went hard for us too. Because I told her when I was up at 6 in the morning editing all that video, she was giving me life with her. Yes, and we're gonna go back and take some clips out of that on Friday. Before we get out of here, y'all, I just want to share with you a couple of things. Thank you, Marcia J, coming in from YouTube. I just want to share with you another tool. We are rounding out October, which is awareness month for so many things, and one of them being mental health awareness. And so as we're talking about things out of Narisha's book, you may find that there's some roots in you that are anchored in trauma. And so Narisha talked about one level of trauma, and how she has dealt with that, and what she does for herself is from an awareness standpoint.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you all, if you're dealing with trauma, you're anchored in trauma, you don't realize you're anchored in trauma, but a lot of what's going on with you, if you peel back all that layerage, you would see that, no, this is really about something I have been through and I've gone through, and I haven't really moved past it. We think because we bear it means that we got through it. That's not true. Just because you bear it doesn't mean you're healed from it. So if you or somebody you know needs a referral for a therapist, I want you to really consider, in this day and time, it's easier than ever before. Maybe it's just a coach you need, but maybe if it's trauma, you need a therapist. I'd be glad to help you find a referral. You can see people online now. You don't even have to go anywhere, really. It's more accessible now than ever. We've gone through a lot this year, and it may have hit you very differently, depending on how COVID has touched your family or you or somebody you know. So please just make sure that you tend to you in all the best ways possible. And then lastly, I want to share this this little app that I learned about. Narisha, while I got you on here, I know you like a good app. We're techie girls. We like stuff that makes things helpful. Sanvello. Now let me tell you, I want to be IG has quit on us, but I have not used this app. I just learned about this app this week. So I just want to tell you that. But the source, the person that told me about it, is a licensed therapist, very prominent in her field, and just said that this is a great app for stress and anxiety and depression. It just helps you check in, because sometimes you don't know how to check in. You hear us say, check in with yourself, but you don't know how to check in with yourself. So it does daily mood tracking. It takes you on guided meditative journeys, things like that. It shares coping tools. You see there, it talks about meditation, health, hope, thoughts. It just checks in on these different areas and gives you kind of a assessment on your progress, how you're doing through the week. And that might even be a tool that helps you see if maybe I do need more help. Maybe I do need more help. They talk about peer support coaching and therapy, but I just wanted to lift this as a tool that might be of use to you if you think, I'm not sure if I need help. Well, there's a way that you can meter that out and figure that out for yourself. So again, Narisha, thank you so much. Love you to life, sis. I'm so
Love
proud
you
of you
too.
and the work that you did in this book. And I know the cost. So kudos to you and the God in you for birthing something poignant and something so needed for where we are right now.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate you sharing it on your platform. I really appreciate that.
And we'll get her to come back and do some cooking. We might do dual stuff.
Oh, I
I'm
would
gonna be
love
in this
that.
kitchen doing it, and she'll be in that kitchen doing that. We'll see, and then maybe we'll throw somebody else on the third block. So
I love it.
we'll see how that works. Love you all to Life Tribe. I hope you have a great Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. You still have the chance to change some things up, try something different. Let us know if you make any of the little recipes that we share. They're thanking you, your bestie right there. Thank you, Narisha. Be blessed.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love you all to life. I'll see you on Friday at 10 a.m. for live coaching. Until then, take good care of yourself. I love you to life. And now this. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey to help empower your mind, your body, and your spirit. I hope you've enjoyed our time together as much as I have. Make sure you stay connected. Become part of the tribe, the inner circle. Text the word release to 22999 and get all the updates on events and happenings and pop-ups that I do. Let's grow this community. Bring more hearts and minds into the room. Share the streams. Join our tribe, our Facebook group, and support through products and services that'll help you continue to make better decisions for better living. Like this resource, From Dream to Reality, Navigating the Path to Your Life Purpose. This top-selling action journal has helped thousands of people find and follow their purpose. You can get it on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. The link is in the post. The Empowerment Tribe is about empowering one another. So follow me on social media so I can follow you back and see what you're up to. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Periscope. Thanks again for tuning in. We are the Empowerment Tribe. Together, we are light bearers in the world. Love you to life. See you next time.